Welcome to this special teacher edition of Take 20 with Text Help. If you caught any of the first 5 episodes of Take 20 with Text Help, then you were probably already introduced to one or more of our panelists today. For this special edition, we're going to bring them all together and allow them to connect with you, to connect with each other, to share their expertise in their respective roles, but also to share their expertise as some of our valued Text Help partners. They have got so much experience between them to share. We might end up breaking something today. So a brief introduction. With us today, we have got Franklin Township District Technology Supervisor Nadine Gilkison. We also have got Bartholomew Consolidated Secondary ELA teacher Kelly Culp. We also are welcoming Assistant Tech Consultant for Plymouth Canton Community Schools and District Alternative Assessment Coordinator Stacey Banks. This feels like a real talk show the way I'm doing this. We are also joined by one of my good friends from South Bend Community Schools, Director of Curriculum and Literacy, Rachel Anders. From Perry Township Schools, District EL Coach, Nicole Steele. And one of the newest members of the Text Help team, Michelle Whiteley, who was very recently a teacher and comes to us now as one of our educational account managers. And so all of the folks that are on here today are either from my home state of Indiana or from the great state of Michigan. And we are just going to give them a chance to chat. You've probably been used to the idea that Take 20 is exactly 20 minutes. This is kind of a supersized episode of Take 20. We're used to it being a pint-sized professional learning experience. This time it's going to be a supersized professional learning experience because there's no way I could fit all of this into a pint with these guys. So I want to just kind of begin by thanking these guys for being with us, for all of the amazing work that you're doing in your schools, but also outside of your schools, because all of you really do extend yourselves to share resources, to connect with other educators, to make sure that your teachers feel valued and supported. And I just think it's you do so much heavy lifting, and we're honored at Text Help to be able to partner with you and be the people who get to do some of that work with you. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started and just say, I think we're all aware, you guys probably especially, of the wear and tear that many educators are feeling at this time of year, even in a regular year. Like I can remember in April, I was always kind of looking at the want ads and kind of thinking like, maybe there's something easier out there, like, right? And that was like in a regular school year. And I can't even imagine what it feels like kind of being on what I hope is kind of the downside, the downhill slope of a multi-year global pandemic. Whoever thought we'd be saying those words, by the way. So I know that everybody's maybe a little more frayed around the edges than what they normally would be, because we've certainly taken a lot of lumps over the last couple of years. So one of the things I want to start with is by getting you and any of our participants and people listening kind of reflecting on and recalling your why. One of the things I really used to love doing when I was a UDL facilitator and doing a lot of UDL consulting was I used to do a protocol called Passion Profiles that came from National School Reform faculty. And it was a really, really good way of getting people to just kind of think about what is the thing that really makes you wake up in the morning and get dressed and pull into the school parking lot, or these days log into the computer, if you're a virtual teacher working through a virtual academy. And so I think it's really important, especially at this time of year when everybody does feel kind of frayed around the edges and we're in so much testing and like things just kind of don't feel normal, I don't think, at this time of year, if they ever do. And so I want to give you guys a chance to reflect on that and articulate your why. And for a lot of you, the why that drives you now might be different than the why that drove you before the pandemic. Or when we all first got into education, we kind of knew like, well, here's why I took this route in my, in my post-secondary education. Here's what drives me. But over time, sometimes that changes. So I want to give you guys a chance to talk about that. And the person who's going to kick this off for us is District EL coach from Perry Township, Nicole Seal. So Nicole, I'm going to let you kind of chat it with us a little bit about, introduce yourself a little and
Sure.
talk to us about your why.
Sure. Thank you. And I'm honored to be here with all these amazing people. So my why really stems from having 4 siblings adopted from other countries. So, seeing their assets, seeing their challenges, seeing their successes, seeing, those barriers that kept them from maybe being as successful as they could. And then also what happened in the lights that started flicking on whenever they got these amazing opportunities and incredible teachers and had the right tools in place. And so that really drives pretty much everything I do and my passion. As you can see, I'm already talking with my hands. So that's really what I do as a coach in Perry. So we have about just under 5,000 EL students in our district right now that are receiving services. So especially during the pandemic, that became a focus. How can we remove those barriers? How can we put students in the center of the learning? How can we make it more that autonomy, that student ownership piece? And so, that's really my why, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And, whether that's a tech tool, whether that's instruction, whether that's, hey, we just need to have an SEL conversation, whatever that might be. And that really drives pretty much everything that I do. Yeah.
And to give you guys a sense of like Michelle's at Nicole's district, just so when you say like you've got around 5,000 ELLs, that really is about a third of your student population,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that's a significant percentage of English language learners that you guys are supporting.
Absolutely. And then we also have additional students, about 2,300 additional students that speak another language at home, but are also fluent in English. So, a program like Read and Write is really helpful because parents may not be fluent in English. And so they've been seeing some of those skills. And then also my son, who's a native speaker, he comes home and tells me about Read and Write, which was like, chef's kiss moment for that accessibility piece. And that was just incredible to see him being in control of the learning. And, as an elementary student, he was like, oh yeah, this helped me in my reading today. And I was just like, this is awesome. So just, getting that student feedback was incredible. But yes, we have a giant population. We have about 7,400 students that are multilingual. So having the language piece and having that talk and type feature has been amazing. And then also it's helping our students be able to speak, and then we translate it into English. So the teachers that are native speakers can now have access to that thinking. And so it's just been an incredible tool to remove some of those barriers and to get students where we're building that stamina back, from the pandemic that we kind of lost. So yeah, good stuff.
Awesome. How about the rest of you guys? I'd like to give the rest of you guys a chance to kind of chat about your why as well. Just kind of briefly introduce yourself and chat about your why.
Well, I can go next.
Go ahead.
I'm Kelly Cole. I'm from Columbus, Indiana, and Bartholomew Consolidated Schools. I teach high school English, mostly juniors. And I found that I was kind of mired in a group of people who wanted to teach traditionally, and that was definitely not how I was teaching. And so my why really centers around how to look at those traditional ways and methods, and how can I kind of turn those on their heads and give students choice and voice, and just really celebrate choice and voice. And that's what we do in 1309, student choice and voice.
Yeah, I can piggyback on that in terms of the students I've worked with. I have been teaching for almost 20 years. 10 of those years were in a day treatment for students with certified with emotional impairment. And, those students had a very difficult time until they got to my classroom, until they got to our program in traditional school. And so my why has always been those students that needed that little extra something, that voice and choice, kind of a different way to show their understanding of a concept or a curricular area, and that again kind of drives the work I do now. I want to make sure that my staff that I work with have access to those tools that can help students that learn differently kind of break down those barriers that they've had. So that has always been something very, very important to me. And again, I teach in a district that I grew up in, and I want to make it a better place for the students that go here now, and including my own children. So those being very student focused has always been my why.
I think it's so important because you just never know if you are going to be the person who helps a student stick with it, right?
Yep.
I mean, if a student has experienced a significant amount of failure, either with literacy or learning in general, school becomes kind of a place that's kind of a bummer to come to. And so I think it's like you won't necessarily be the person for every kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that it's on offer, it's likely to land, right, with some of our kids who need it the most. And a lot of times ends up being, like we can probably all point to a teacher. I mean, this is in celebration of Teacher Appreciation Week. We can probably all point to a teacher who said that person really kept me going, or that person really extended some significant opportunities to me. And so I really love that you Stacey, you're talking about, kind of giving that then back to your learners. And I love that you're at your hometown. I taught in my hometown of Rushville, Indiana for a few years, and it's kind of a special experience to go back to your own community and give back to it. I really love that.
Thank you.
I can talk about my why. My name's Nadine Gilkison. I'm the District Technology Integration Specialist in Franklin Township Schools. So I started out as a classroom teacher, and really my passion and my why, I know everyone talks about, digital learning with the pandemic and everything, but it truly is my passion. Prior to doing this and being a classroom teacher, I've now been in this role to help everyone in the district with tech integration for 8 years. And really what makes my heart grow big is when I have, I'm able to see a teacher grow from what they were doing in the classroom with technology to what they're currently doing. Being able to reach as many teachers and as many students inside and outside of Franklin Township has really been my why. It doesn't matter to me if you're in my district or not, because kids move around. They may end up being in our district. And quite frankly, there's a lot of school districts that don't have the position that I have. And I really feel for those teachers that don't have that help. So I try to share as much as I can to help out anybody as much as what I can.
I'll make sure that you guys have got each other's Twitter handles before we get off of here too. Because all of you guys, I think, are active on Twitter. And one of the things that Nadine has kind of alluded to here, and several of you guys have got things like this, is that she does tweet out stuff regularly. She's got a great blog out, but she always has got these really great kind of practical learning resources, some of them connected to text help resources like Read and Write, Equatio, some of them Canvas, they're using Canvas in her district, but also, I mean, a lot of it is really, digital learning tools, those things that are intended to help promote voice and choice, teacher growth, and accessible and flexible learning environments. So I think that we'll make sure that all of you guys know how to connect with each other beyond today. Might even set up something fun to kind of keep that going, keep this conversation going, because I think you guys will love that connection. Who else? Who else is to share their why?
Well, I'm Rachel Anders, and I'm up in South Bend. I have been in public education for 26 years now, and my why, honestly, hasn't changed. I used to take my little brother and play school with him when he was younger. I would babysit him in the summertime, and it was just amazing to me to watch how his brain worked. He's quite intelligent, but to watch words come off the page and actually turn into something, and that he could understand it and process it and take that information and apply it to something else. And it's just always been, it's been that for me, watching things just come to life for a student. And I've always had a heart for the underdog. And whether it's watching sports, it could be, I find myself rooting on the team that has to come from behind. And I feel that way with students as well, of just trying to find that magical formula that unlocks whatever it was that was holding them back. And that's why my career has changed a lot from starting out in the classroom until now being in administration. But the thrill of watching that light bulb come on for a student hasn't changed at all. And through Joni, I know you and I have talked about this. This has been, we've seen a lot in our career, the comings and goings and the trends and things that happened in education. But this pandemic has been, I don't know, I have no words. And to watch how many educators have left really breaks my heart. And I think now more than ever, we need to dive into what our why is and not lose sight of that. And the younger teachers that are coming out of college, I tell you, it's the world is your oyster right now, because we are all going to be beating down your doors to get you to come and join us at our districts. But cling to your why, because you will be tested and challenged every single day. There has not been a year in my 26 years that I didn't stop at some point and go, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Do I need to switch careers? I've asked myself that a couple of different times, and I am just as excited about public education now as I was when I started. And there's a lot of things going on right now that I don't agree with, but walking away and turning my back and taking another path, that's not going to change things. It's not going to help things. And it's certainly not going to do anything for the underdog either. So, Joni, when you showed me text help when I first came on to South Bend, I was just floored. I was amazed. So I'm not sure if it was Stacy or Nicole, but talking about your kids using it at home and how it just opens those doors for them. That has been amazing. We have a lot of families where their parents work second shift or third shift, and it's the older siblings that are there to care for them and make sure that they have the support that they need. So text help has made a big difference in that. We've provided, through one of our grants, we've provided free Wi-Fi to all of our families here in South Bend. So that was not an easy undertaking, and a lot of effort continues to go into that, but that's how important text help is to us. We want to make sure that they can access these resources even when they're not on site with us.
I love it. How about you, Michelle? What's your why?
Well, yeah, so obviously it's shifted a little bit, but I was a classroom teacher for over a decade. I taught general ed curriculum in 4th and 5th grade prior to joining the team here at Text Help. And now that I am working with Joni closely with schools in Indiana and Michigan, I find that obviously I want to get these tools into students' hands, but I also want to get them to teachers. Really, I find that my why is I want to help teachers decrease their workload, decrease their stressors, while also fostering independent, successful learners. But I really feel like that has been more of a shift, focusing more on teachers than students.
I gotta tell you, mine is so similar, because when I was in the classroom, somebody said to me once, look, your kids have got one chance to be a 9th grader. Your kids have got one chance to be a 3rd grader, whatever it is. You fill in the grade or the course they're taking. It's they've got one chance at it. And they deserve the very best experience that we can possibly give them. That it's not a dress rehearsal, like this is the real deal. And so when I transitioned into being a UDL facilitator, I felt the same way, except it did shift to teachers. I felt like our teachers deserve the very best possible support we can give them. There is so much heavy lifting to do on a regular run-of-the-mill day. And what a lot of people who are not in education don't realize is something that one of my mentors, and I know a lot of you guys know who David Rose is, but he is one of the co-founders of CAS, one of the co-creators of the UDL framework. But he is, well known for saying that teaching is emotional work. And if you're not really in it, you don't always realize that. I think everybody kind of takes some emotions, like all of our, people's work has got, some emotion because we're human. We all have the affective network, and it's all kind of, it's all affected by the environment and the people around us. But there is no doubt that each of you go home at night and think about kids you've had in the past, kids you felt like you did a good job with, kids you wish you had done better with, teachers who need you, teachers who need extra support. I mean, like it's kind of constantly with you, and it's a heavy lift on the very easiest day. It's a very heavy lift. So I love that you guys have reflected on your why, shared it with us. I hope that everybody who is listening to this will take a moment and reflect on your why and think about what keeps you coming back to your kiddos, what keeps you coming back to the classroom. How can we kind of, support, how can we support you at TextHelp? How can your fellow educators support you? Because there's a ton of networks of support out there for teachers and for educators, so and administrators. So I want to, I'm going to kind of hand this over to Michelle so we can kind of move into our next question.
Sure. So as Joni mentioned, teaching is very emotional work, and teachers do crazy things like skip meals and bathroom breaks in the name of being with their kids and getting their work done. So as we all know, as either current or former educators, it's super important to practice self-care after a school day ends. Personally, I live in New England, so I'm lucky because a beach or forest is like never too far. And when I was in the classroom, I found nature was like the perfect therapist for me. I love just going out to a beautiful place and decompressing and taking a breath. So for me, nature truly healed all when I was in the classroom, but I am going to pass it over to Kelly to share some strategies that you've developed or go-tos for self-care and de-stressing and just winding down after a school day.
So as I was thinking about this question, a couple of things came to mind. The first is one that has really developed this year, which has been just kind of a really goofy thing. My younger daughter, she has a group of friends and they call themselves the freshman circle. Even though they're not freshmen anymore, they still call themselves that. And I realized about halfway through this year that we have a little teacher circle that forms pretty much every afternoon outside of my door. And at first I was kind of puzzled about why. And then I started to realize it's just a way for people to congregate at the end of the day. And most days it's just kind of goofy. But then I started in my own, I was just like, let's see how this goes. I started asking people, what's one good thing that happened today? And pretty soon, I didn't have to ask the question anymore. It was just a response that people came and they were like, so my one good thing that happened today was, and so now the teacher circle, as I refer to it, is a real nice little positive, we come and we share one good thing that happened today, and then that's it. And sometimes people will stay and chat for a while after that, but it doesn't have to be a great big thing. It's just a 5 or 10 minute thing where we stand and chat for a few minutes and one good thing, and then and that's it. And instead of teachers congregating and complaining about things, which I think we do occasionally have a tendency to do, I I decided maybe we should turn that on its head and be intentional about asking, what's one good thing? And that really has made a big difference. And it's been a really great thing. The other thing that I really have been intentional about is my drive home. And I'm fortunate that I have a 30-minute drive home. And I think that's a really nice amount of time. But I've been very thoughtful in how I spend that drive home. I do two things. I choose to look for something on the way home that is either beautiful or interesting or positive that I can think about and say, that is something to take notice of and be thankful for, or just to be excited about. The other thing is what I listen to. And it can be something different, but it's something that is not school related and that will just enhance my day. So it might be a podcast that is not school or education related, or music that is fun, or a book that is just enjoyable. And again, not school related. Like there's plenty of other time to listen to those things, but on my way home from school is not that time. And so I'm choosing to make that time just about something that is rejuvenating and fun and just helpful. And I think those choices make a difference versus, continuing to cram educational things down my throat or whatever. That becomes the time where I just get to enjoy. And I think that makes a difference.
I really love what you're saying, because the truth is, teacher is such a big part of all of your identities, even if you're not in the classroom anymore. Would you guys agree with that? I have not been in the classroom now for years. I've been with TextHelp now 2.5 years. I still am teacher is a big part of my identity, a huge part of my identity. And I think it really can kind of consume all of your identity if you let it. And really, Kelly, the thing you're talking about here is intentionality, right? You have that group of teachers outside your door. So you decided to be a little bit more intentional about that, even that informal time, and started one good thing, which actually, by the way, I think could be a viral hashtag, hashtag one good thing. I think you could totally blow up. I do Twitter with it. I would love to see that. I think it could be something really fantastic. And I do think it's true. Things have been difficult. So it's hard. It's easy to kind of focus on things that are hard, but you do kind of have to be more intentional about focusing on things that are good, right? And so I really love that. And I don't want to get into toxic positivity and things like that, because I know that kind of swings in way the other direction. But when we talk about what we consume and what we allow to be part of our environment, if we hang around, a lot of negativity, no doubt that it's we're taking all of that on, and it no doubt will affect the way that we feel about ourselves, our jobs, our kids, and all of those things. And so I really love the idea of hey, well, I've got this captive audience of people I really care about. I'm going to share one good thing here, right? I really, really love that. Anything else that the rest of you guys are doing for some self-care and kind of things like that?
I was laughing because when I saw the question, when you had posed the question, when I was looking, and I had emailed back to you yeah, that's probably not my question, because I am so I have a hard time turning it off. And so what I found that I have been trying to do in our department, we are in a large, somewhat large district. We have about 17,000 students, pre-K through post-secondary, and there are only 2 of us in our department, and I'm grateful that Plymouth Canton has seen fit to have a department dedicated specifically to assistive technology that works within our special education department. But there are only 2 of us, and we are wildly overworked right now, just because of the pandemic. Lots of requests, quite a bit more requests have come in than in past years. I feel particularly sad for my partner, who is an SLP, because 31 of those requests this year have been for AAC evals, which I, as a teacher, am not very helpful with. So because I've been so overworked and I have a hard time shutting things off, I've really been intentional about using my time at home or using the time after I leave work to focus on things within education that make me happy, like creating materials that we will use in different ways outside of our work, and working with a former colleague of mine. She was actually our supervisor in our department, but had to retire early because she had been in a fairly severe car accident. But she has been doing a lot of work home around creating a collaborative PD space that is virtual for teachers to meet and kind of talk about problems of practice. And so I have been trained now as part of the work she's doing to be a co-facilitator in that work. And so that is something that's still within the area of education, but somewhere I can feel like it's not part of the district, and I'm not getting paid to do it. I don't have to be on the clock, and just kind of doing those things that we enjoy doing, presenting at conferences. Like Nadine had said, or you had said about Nadine, getting information out there to people outside of our district, really working to connect with districts I've worked with in the past that hadn't had a one-to-one programs before the pandemic, that don't have a lot of access, because again, the students I worked with in day treatment and then the other district I was in prior to coming here, there's not a lot of access to tools like Read and Write. And those tools, because I think back on the students I've worked with in those districts, those tools would have been a game changer for many of the students I work with. And so that's why I'm so passionate about sharing how important tools like Text Help, Read and Write, Equatio have been for students that I work with. And so even though I can't turn it off, my husband's like, please stop being a teacher. I try to at least do something that's going to give me joy, and that is working in the different areas of education that I've been working in lately. So I feel like it's outside of my job, but still giving me life. So keep me motivated to stay in my job. So, but that's it. It's funny because I know none of us have really good self-care.
Well, I love what you're saying, is that it's something that brings you joy, right? And so where Kelly is like, hey, I'm gonna do something intentional about, do things that are intentionally kind of not school related. The other thing is you can do that, but you also don't have to. If it's something that brings you joy and it's still related to the things that you might be doing in your everyday work, whatever works for you is the way to take care of yourself. And I know for a lot of you, that's probably, you've probably got kind of like a similar experience that, once you kind of find the current that moves you, that's the current that moves you. You find joy in it. That's the thing you like to learn about, the things you like to talk about. And so I think that there are so many ways to take care of yourself. But one of the things that I'll say too is that in this question, we have it kind of worded as end of the day, but it's also really important to take care of yourself through the day, right? And to find people to connect with. That's so important. Teaching can be terribly isolating. You wouldn't think that because you've got a classroom full of people that you're teaching. But the truth is, education can be a terribly isolating profession because it's almost like you're sitting in an egg crate. You're next to somebody, but not exactly touching, right? And it's really important, I think, sometimes to open your door and connect with people that you might not ordinarily connect with. Find time to take a walk, even if it's just around the corridors and stuff like that. I know that the schools that I was supporting in the past, I would always see teachers walking at a little pack, and I'm this is what we do. We eat lunch and then we go and walk for 5 minutes because we like doing that. And so I think it's really important to find those little pockets of time to take care of yourself through the day, so that you can remember your why and be the things that your kiddos and your teachers need for you to be. So one of the ways to take good care of yourself is to find efficient workflows, no doubt. Find the best way to do your work. And I know that each one of you guys is a total pro when it comes to streamlining, being resourceful, being strategic. I know that all of you guys are total pros. So I'm going to start with Nadine here, and I would like to just have Nadine kind of share some of those teacher hacks that help educators save time, stay organized, or just make the flow of their day in general easier and better. And so I'm going to let Nadine from Franklin Township take over and take the lead on this question.
Great. Of course, I could talk about this topic, nonstop because it kind of relates to my job, but I will hone it in on sharing just a few items with you guys today. I'm going to start sharing my screen first. One of the things that I wanted to point out is that can definitely be a time saver that I've really tried to focus on with our teachers recently is on a bookmarks bar inside of Chrome. I know you can bookmark specific websites, but I talked to our admins today about this tip. Make sure that you're using a folder. So on Chrome, you can add a folder onto that bookmarks area. And all teachers have different websites that they'll go to at the beginning of the day for their lessons and so on. I'm going to demonstrate on here. So I have a folder that's named Good Morning. And this happens to have on here links that go directly to my email and also to my Drive. If your teachers use Canvas or Skyward or other common links, I told them that they can just drag the URL into that folder. And the nice part is that when you right click on it, all you have to do is go out to Chrome and then you can tap on the Open All. And as soon as you come in, boom, it'll load all of those tabs. So that's the first tip that I'll give you.
That is the first thing I'm going to set up as soon as we get off of this call today. I am so excited about setting up my Good Morning folder.
Good. And as you'll notice, I have tons of folders too, which makes things a lot easier for me as well. The next one that I wanted to show is if you didn't realize inside of Google Docs, now this feature is available. Inside of Insert and under Building Blocks, they have Email Draft. So what this helps you with is if you are going to type out an email, but you need to work on an email with someone else before you send it out, you have the ability in Google Docs now that you can do this, where you can draft the email with the other person. You can work on that draft. And then when you guys are ready to send it out, it will actually shoot it out to Gmail directly from Google Docs. And again, that was Insert, Building Blocks, and Email Draft. The last tip that I'll give you guys that I really feel like is helpful for teachers is going to be templates. Templates save time. I'll share in the chat, and then Joni can add it in different ways. I've shown our teachers that use Canvas how to add everything that they're creating that they want the students to do in Canvas, how they can have an entire slide deck that contains everything for their unit. But I help them create a template so that it's easier for them to navigate that. Several of our teachers use HyperDocs as templates. I'll share these links where if they can find a template to get them started, I know that that helps them with their day and what they're doing. So I'll share out some different template links that I have. I didn't talk about self-care, but another template that I have that I've shared with teachers is how are they tracking their self-care. And I kind of made it think of it like the Apple Watch, and what is the Apple Watch leaving out? Time to create, what are your favorite shows and so on. So if you know me, I like to share templates a lot. So I'm happy to share those out for everyone.
Please do. And I'll make sure if you're somebody who's listening to this webinar as a participant, we will make sure in the follow-up when you get the recording of this webinar, we'll make sure you also get links to all of the resources that anybody mentions here. Okay. That's fantastic, Nadine. I love that. I'm super jazzed also about the email draft because I work as part of a team, and a lot of you guys do too. And so there are lots of times where we're like drafting an email to the teachers we support, but we all want to kind of work on it. And we do this ridiculous thing where we shoot emails back and forth, and then you know, we've got like millions of you know, versions of that email in each person's mailbox before we settle on one. So this is brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And we will make sure that you get all of Nadine's templates in the follow-up. Anybody else?
What? I feel like I keep talking, but I'm gonna leave it. I have something I'm so excited about because I'm such a dork. I was just recently at McCall and went to a workshop around leadership and like 10 tips to like effective leaders. And the presenter said something very, very important that I think all teachers need to hear, is that you need to get out of the mindset of that you're just a teacher. And one of the ways that you do that, because you are a professional, is to create a business card for yourself. And it could be aspirational. You're going to write what you'd like to be. You write what you are. And so I thought, yeah, you know, really there are lots of times where I wish I would have had a business card at an IEP or at another meeting to give to someone. And a colleague of mine, I was helping her with a presentation, and I said, you know, do you want to put your contact information on your last slide? And she says, yeah, I've got this new digital business card from a website called Hi Hello. And if I will share really quickly, like I am literally in love with, hold on, let me see if I can do this correctly. I'm literally in love with the fact that I made a digital, I don't know if you guys can see it, the fact that I made a digital business card in less than 5 minutes with all kinds of information, all of my contact information. On top of it, you can drop it into your email and build yourself a little email card. So this all builds like literally in 5 minutes. And the last thing, and this would be really helpful when we have lots of virtual IEPs, you can create Zoom backgrounds that have your information laid right in, and then your face would be right here, obviously, if you were on the screen. But that would be just that efficiency in terms of a workflow that can be created in literally less than 5 minutes by inputting some information. You can add a QR code. So that is an amazing kind of efficiency workflow that I found that I've been super excited about over the last couple of days.
That's super cool.
It's the little things that get you excited, because it literally took less than 5 minutes to make. So
I love it. And it looks great. I mean, it's functional and it really looks great.
Yeah. So that is super fun.
Fantastic. So I'm going to hand this over to Michelle. Yep, we'll kind of keep this going.
Let's keep it going. All right. So we know that teachers feeling supported is really essential to them feeling empowered to do their job, and that empowerment is very important. Many teachers who have left the classroom cite a lack of support as one of the main reasons why. So Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about how your district is supporting teachers as demands continue to change? It seems like with the pandemic, every week is a different experience for teachers. So how is your district sort of helping out with that?
You know, you've nailed it when you said that every week is something different. It really is. It seems like Monday rolls around and we all take a deep breath and we're like, okay, here we go. It's Monday. And we're waiting for Friday, and Friday comes and we think, all right, we survived another week. One of the things that we've done here in South Bend is this year we have added district literacy specialists. And so right now we have 8 primary specialists, and we have 3 secondary specialists. And these specialists they're phenomenal. They're absolutely amazing. And we are looking to hire more, put our little plug in there, but so they are phenomenal. They go into classrooms, they work directly with students, they will work with teachers. We provide job embedded professional learning. And by that, I mean, we walk in and we will co-teach. We will actually lead a lesson. It can look like whatever it is that teacher needs. So, you know how we always talk about how we need to meet students where they're at. That's exactly the mindset that we have taken with our literacy specialist here in South Bend, is we need to meet our teachers where they're at. So it could be that professional learning piece, but at the same time, there have been moments that we've had to go in and fill that teaching role for the day because of whatever, an emergency took place. We write lesson plans. We have even at times in extreme situations, we have graded assignments and taken that place. We have a lot of emergency permit teachers here in South Bend. We're a pretty large district. And so that, this teacher shortage is certainly not lost on us. And so everyone, I mean, absolutely everyone is constantly helping someone else out. Teachers helping other teachers, covering classes on their prep. And, it is all hands on deck all the time. And one of the things that we've gotten a lot of great feedback on is quarterly pathways. And so we've got our district initiatives here in South Bend, but then we work alongside with each building principal to say, okay, well, what does this look like in your building? Because you can have all the great bells and whistles and the programs that you want, but if you are not using it in a way that serves your teachers and your students right where they're at, then you're still spinning your wheels and you're still scratching your head at the end of the day going, oh my gosh, what's not working? And so these quarterly pathways, and we started with our middle schools and looked at building out kind of like planning by backwards design. What is our big end goal and how do we get there? And then building that out. And so we created one for each quarter. And I recently sent out a Google form to just say, hey, what do you think? Because my team did that this year. But then that next step is, all right, how does each grade level team, we encourage that collaboration. And because coming off of a pandemic, that didn't just cause our students to forget how to communicate. We're all human, and our teachers were affected by that. We all were. I mean, everyone on this call was affected by that. And so how do you start collaborating again? How in the world do you go from I am a silo to now I have to share my resources and have this conversation? And it was truly like starting all over again. Because I can remember back in the day when collaborative circles were quite the thing. And it seems like we had to try to learn how to walk again. And that's one thing that Quarterly Pathways has done. So recently, though, on this survey that we got back, one of our veteran teachers, that she's phenomenal. She is absolutely phenomenal, and really just picks things up and runs with it. She shared that she knew what she needed to do. But she looked at that quarterly pathway and she said that was just another way to look at things and to make sure it was kind of a guide by the side. Was she getting in all of those key components that she needed to? And then we've had other teachers that said, this was my first year and I really didn't know what I was doing. And thank you so much. These were really helpful. But we just had a conversation this morning, met with a high school principal and shared these pathways, because we started at the middle school level. And he said, I think this is what we need. We just need to make sure that we are meeting these kids right where they're at. And what does that look like? And trying to get back off the screen as we sit here in our meetings on our screen. But, that's one of those things that's probably not going to go away with the pandemic. But at the same time, how do we get back to teaching and not still feel like e-learning to our kids within the classroom? And we're kind of seeing that everywhere. How do we do that? So Our literacy specialists they've been a huge support in that. We also team up with our DISs, our digital integration support team, and they are phenomenal. And their team has been established longer than our literacy specialist team. So to have us collaborate and join forces, it's like sharing each other's superhero cape. And we've become this communication hub of, hey, I've got a teacher that needs this. Do you think maybe you can join this conversation with me? And figuring out how to make those connections and making those connections for our teachers and learning to connect beyond the walls of our own buildings. And we have 20 different buildings here in South Bend. So how do we do that? How do we talk beyond the walls and learn beyond the screen and, I don't know, learn to function again post-pandemic? And it's tough. At the same time, we are not perfect in this work, and we ask for feedback from our teachers a lot. They probably get tired of the Google Forms, but it's like the fastest way. Unless my digital people on here, you've got a better way to be a little jazzier, a little more fun. How do I get feedback from them? But we've been very transparent in, if there is something that you need, please tell us. And this first year, it's new. It's a new team, and that's hard to break down those walls. So I have told my team time and time again, if they think of it, we need to come up with an answer. And just being there in so many different ways, I hope that they realize we are genuine in that if they can think of what it is they need, if they need help creating it, we'll create it. That self-care, you notice I didn't talk on that one. I don't know how to shut it off and how to, turn things down. I'm trying. I am trying to be more intentional, but my babies are grown. So, I'm just in that different spot of life. My husband, he's doing pretty well. He knows how to be self-sufficient. So, we continue working after hours and creating these things for them. And I know everyone's doing that across the state. And I don't know if our teachers can think of it, truly, we will help them create it, tear down that wall, that barrier in between it, and do what we can, because we really are all in this together. And I know that people say that a lot, but I feel like we really mean it here in South Bend.
Yeah, I agree, Rachel. I mean, everything you said was great. Like, two sort of key points that stuck out, I think, are collaboration and feedback. I think giving your teachers that voice and allowing them time to work with each other and with different committees is super powerful. Did anybody else want to share?
I also love the structures that South Bend has got in place, like your digital integration specialists, like they've each got buildings that they support. Your literacy specialists have each got buildings they support. So I love that you guys have put sustainable structures in place. And I know that like BCSE has also got their UDL facilitators. So they're doing some of the same kind of work, Rachel, that you were talking about. They've all got buildings that they support. Nadine, you were also going to chat with us here about that.
I just wanted to say that I'm going to give like a little plug here. Our district is one of the school districts that's going to be doing a teacher conference this summer through IDOE, and it's called the Spark Summit. We're going to be doing ours on June 10th. I'm pretty sure South Bend is offering one. I think they're one of the recipients as well. But one of the things that I was excited about was not just that we could host a conference, but I know it's been a really difficult year for teachers. And so while there are PD sessions, I'm truly trying to make it like not like a typical conference, because teachers are burnt out. And if I want to get attendance at that conference, I better be mixing things up. So we have Gary Brooks as our keynote, and I know that's what's bringing him in, and I don't care. I mean, he's hilarious. He speaks to them, and that's what they need to hear. And And so I feel for them, you know, with that. We're trying to do a lot of fun things. We've partnered with Selfie World Indie, and we've got kids that are creating selfie stations, but also in addition to like our vendor hall, I don't want to say it's like a craft fair because it's not a craft fair, but I've wanted to have more than just your typical vendors, because I think of what are things that teachers would want. And so we tried to have, you know, like bakeries coming in, some teachers have like side hobbies of things that they might be creating on the side. Hey, would you like to have a booth? And do something. So like their little side hustle. So I was trying to legitimately think of not just bring a teacher in, but give it, you know, good, worthwhile reasons to help re-energize them. So if anybody's
I love
interested,
that.
we'll have.
I'm
That's
really
really
excited about
I
it.
wanna
We're gonna
come.
make sure.
Yeah.
We'll,
The
we'll,
highlighted side
I'm gonna be
hustle.
there.
Yeah, the
I'm
highlighting the
included
side
now.
hustle is amazing. I love that.
That's so fun. Yeah, Nadine, I would like dread professional development days. So that sounds so fun. Like I would actually want to go to that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Let me know if you
So
need tickets. 'Cause I
I'm
have
going to move on to our final question here. So hey, I will include in our email that sends out this recording and all of the resources. I'll make sure you've got information on the Spark Summit that Nadine has mentioned here, because it does sound like a ton of fun. I would be there no matter what, even if it was a very traditional conference, but I'm even more excited to be there now. So there are a lot of things that a lot of us have probably been happy to see get back to normal. Like I actually was just thinking the other day, like I went to a concert the other night and I was thinking like, wow, this is really something, like going to a concert and even just going to my boys' hockey games and actually sitting next to people instead of like spacing all the way out and things like that. There's something that feels really nice to kind of get back to normal. However, no doubt that this pandemic exposed all of our weaknesses, right? I mean, laid us bare in education and said, well, here are all the things we've been doing wrong for a long time. Now we're just going to put a spotlight on them, right? And so for folks like you who are problem solvers and who are innovators, for some of you, this was like your time to shine. It was like I've got solutions, right? I also am a helper, so I can help you with this. And so no doubt there are a lot of things that we are happy to see go from the pandemic, but there are some things that improved, even though it was difficult and even though it may have been painful, but there are some things that have improved significantly in teaching and learning since the onset of the pandemic. Stacey, I'm gonna let you chat about this. What are some of the things we hope stick around from the pandemic?
So I'm sure any special educator you talk to will say the same thing. The fact that there is much more focus on making sure accessible educational materials are available for students. It's been like pulling teeth for years in the special education department to make sure that our students have access to digital materials so they can utilize tools like Read and Write. And so fortunately, we had Read and Write before the pandemic. So our students were familiar with using those tools. That gave our students kind of a head start in terms of jumping in when we went all virtual, because they did continue to have those supports that they needed at home. But what really I'm hoping sticks around is kind of that move towards making sure that materials are available in a digital platform, a digital format for students to access if they need to use the tools. Our district is a one-to-one district. In our K through 3 classroom, students had iPads, and then our 3 through 12 students had Chromebooks, and our teachers have Windows devices. And the elementaries really used them before the pandemic and even now just within the classroom. The middle schools really, from the beginning of the one-to-one journey, really bought in, and all middle school students have their Chromebook with them daily and every hour. But we always saw a drop-off when our students went to the high school. Many of the high school teachers didn't buy into utilizing that technology in class for a variety of reasons. But the pandemic kind of push them in that direction. And so for us in my department, that made things a little bit easier. When I've had, even when we put it in a student's IEP that they had access to digital materials, they had access to digital turn-in of those materials, all those types of things, that was always really a sticking point for some teachers. And so we've kind of moved past that in our district. Even now, all lessons, all materials are supposed to be not only given in class, but also put into our Canvas LMS. And for the most part, teachers are doing that. My son is a student in 6th grade here in our district, and I could run into anything he's seen throughout the day in his Canvas courses. And so he's able to utilize those tools like Read and Write, a variety of other tools that we have in the district to access those materials, he and all other students in our district. So that's the one thing I'm hoping sticks around, that teachers see the power in making sure students have access to the materials they need to address any barriers they may have, or just, for the benefit of, like we tell our students, to make you a more efficient and effective student. Same thing, we really try to focus on, well, my job in general really tries to focus with teachers on Read and Write, how that can make teachers more effective and efficient. And I just try to show them those little teacher hacks to use the tools, so they see why those can be beneficial in the classroom. So that's one of those things that, silver lining.
Well, student success is a huge component of teacher efficacy.
Yes.
Right? So if my students have access to the right tools, and my students can find success, and my students feel like they are making steps toward their greatest potential, the truth is, that actually feeds me as a teacher. That's a significant component of my own self-efficacy and feeling like I can do this work and do a good job on this work, right?
Exactly.
Other things that any of you would add before we transition out to our close?
I would add that screencasting. I have been showing teachers so many different ways to use screencasting, and the fact that I don't have to train everybody on screencasting anymore. I was working with our secondary teachers this afternoon, and they had questions about Canvas, and I said, what's really helpful? Instead of you typing out an email and telling me what the problem is, why don't you just make a screencast? And then I would reply back to them with a screencast. And I told them, if they're going to have a sub, I said, what about all those screencasts that you've already made? Maybe somebody else has to cover your room, like last minute sub, or it's the third different person that was going to be your sub, and you're not so confident about them teaching that content. We'll fall back on your screencast that you've already made. So that one would be my huge one.
That's a big deal. We've been doing a lot of that at Text Help too, because same thing, I'll get a little question about, hey, can you show me how, Read and Write, can you show me that workflow between Read and Write and Schoology? And it's like, it would be way easier. I'm going to send you a 2-minute video. And then if anybody else in your department or anybody else in your building asks, you can share this video with them, or they can, I'll send the video to them. But it really is a very efficient way. And then I think it does kind of get into that universally designed instruction, not just for our kiddos, but also for our teachers, right? Like, I can tell you, but I can also show you so that you've got this to go back to whenever you need it, right? Okay, so in the past, I have closed out every Take 20 with Text Help with a final 4 question, but we're gonna do something a little bit different because it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And I hate that Nicole had to jump off, but like so many of us, she had a kiddo she had to go pick up. So we'll chat with her later. I'm super grateful to her for being here. Grateful to all of you guys for being here. And for your final question, I wanna give you an opportunity to shout out a teacher for this Teacher Appreciation Week. And it can be a teacher that you had, somebody that teaches your kids, it could be the teacher next door, it could be anybody you choose. So I will, I'll start with Kelly Culp. Kelly Culp, a teacher you'd like to shout out for Teacher Appreciation Week.
I'm going to say Rachel McCarver.
And Rachel works with you at Columbus North High School in Columbus, Indiana.
Yep.
And Rachel tell us just a couple things about Rachel.
Sure. Rachel is our journalism teacher and also my teaching BFF. So
Rachel, and if you ever get a chance to even ever see a picture of Rachel McCarver, you will see it's like looking at a beam of sunshine. It's like talking to a beam of sunshine. I can't imagine being a kid in her class. I mean, being taught by a beam of sunshine, like that is her. So I love that you shouted her out. She's such a great person and such a she's a total delight. I love that. How about you, Rachel Anders?
Gosh, to name one is really tough. I mean, we have some phenomenal educators up here in South Bend, and I tell you, they fight really hard for their students, and they go above and beyond, and they push to be advocates for them. So to name one that's here, my goodness, I can't do that because they are
That's
working
okay.
hard. For me personally, I'm not from South Bend, but I would say one teacher that truly changed my life was Cheryl Schaefer. And I am not a math person, and she was my high school math teacher. So I doubt she will ever see this recording, but she certainly changed my life forever.
I love that. How about you, Nadine?
Mine would be my student teacher, which is from Columbus. That's where I did my student teaching. Sue Linder, who was at Parkside Elementary, and she had taught me how to use technology at that point, the laser disc and all kinds of fun tech. Been around a long time, people. Technology
I love
is
it.
serious changes. So shout out to Sue Linder.
Fantastic. How about you, Stacy?
So I am the teacher that I am, and I teach the way I teach because of a teacher that I had named Martin Authier. He is long retired at this point, and he was a teacher, but he was the in-school suspension supervisor, and I got in trouble a lot. So I am who I am because of him. And in terms of this year, I want to shout out Heather Weaver, my colleague, who, although she is not a teacher, she is a speech language pathologist. She has done amazing work, continues to do amazing work. I don't know how she's been doing it this year, again, with no help from me on these 30+ AAC evals. But she is an amazing person who is caring and kind and thoughtful and will work herself to the end for the students that she works with. So she is amazing, and I am in awe of her at all times.
I know, Heather. She is fantastic. Michelle.
Yeah, I would definitely shout out Ed Keenan, who is a special ed teacher on my team. He was like my work dad. You know, he was always there for like a shoulder to cry on or a word of encouragement. He would help all of the kids in my class, like not just the kids on his workload. So he was just awesome. He was like the MVP, and he is enjoying a well-deserved retirement now. So definitely a shout out to Mr. Keenan for all that he did for me.
And I'm going to give a shout out to my first grade teacher, Carolyn Pennington. She was one of the sweetest, softest spoken, kindest people I have ever met. I can remember being afraid to go to school. I didn't want to be separated from my mom. Like she babysat kids at home. So it was always fun to be at home because there were always a ton of kids there to play with. And I can remember Mrs. Pennington making school feel like a very welcoming place. And you guys this is crazy. My dad passed away about 7 years ago, and I was in the receiving line at the funeral. And no kidding, I looked up, and there is that same sweet face of Carolyn Pennington in the receiving line at my dad's funeral. I mean, so many years later, decades later. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just like, it meant the absolute world to me. I just like seeing her face, even and talking to her for even what was probably like 90 seconds was so incredibly special to me. So I want to thank all of you for being here. Stacy, Nadine, Kelly, Rachel, Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your passion in this work. Michelle, I am so excited to have you on our Text Help team. She's actually been here for a while, but this is kind of like the first big co-hosting, thing that we're doing together. So I'm super excited that she's here, that she's, a fellow educator and part of our team. And I just want to invite everybody who is listening to stay tuned for more special episodes of Take 20 with Text Help. I'll actually be doing a live episode in July at the CAS Symposium, where I will be interviewing for the Take 20 David Rose, who is the co-founder of CAS, co-founder of the UDL framework, and Martin McKay, who is CEO and founder of Text Help. So I am super excited about facilitating that conversation. I'm super excited about sharing all of the resources from today's experts with you. And again, so grateful to you guys for giving us your time, your energy, your expertise, and for just being really phenomenal partners to not just your school districts, but to everybody beyond and to us here at Text Help. Thank you guys so much. Have a great evening, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joni.
Thanks, guys.